After the defeat of the evil Majin Buu, Trunks realizes that his future timeline may be in danger. After all, he was never able to defeat Buu in his own time. He takes the initiative to go ahead into the future to try and stop the birth of Buu once and for all. Taking the coordinates to where Buu's egg was located, he will try to contact Kaioshin one way or the other, unaware that at that very moment, Lord Beerus was having a dream, a premonition about the Super Saiyan God. After the Earth was finally safe from Majin Buu, Trunks realized that he had another timeline to save. He opened his time machine capsule and jumped in, setting the coordinates for his own future. After arriving, he quickly went to visit his mother and catch up. He explained the situation and told her that he'd be back later. Trunks approaches the site of Buu's birth, looking up the exact location he had written down. Once he arrived there, he blasted around the area, making sure to be careful with the egg, until it was uncovered. Hopefully this would work. And sure enough, it did. Shin and Kibito showed up on Earth, blasts ready in hand, asking him what the hell he was doing and how he knew where Majin Buu's egg was. Trunks smiles and tries to calm down the panicked Kai, telling him that he's from the past, or rather, from here in the present, which is the future to the past is at. It doesn't make sense. Shin and Kibito looked at him dumbfounded before Shin looked even more panicked and started to scream about time travel. Finally, the Kais calmed down and listened to Trunks, and while the Supreme Kai cannot approve of time travel, he couldn't really be mad at him considering he was going to take care of Majin Buu. He wasn't trying to do anything malicious. In fact, he was just trying to get their attention. They need to destroy Buu as soon as possible, but they also need to draw out Babidi and Dabura, otherwise something like this may happen again. They need to defeat them as well. In order to convince them, Future Trunks powers up into his ultimate state, making them realize that this kid not only had a good-hearted ki, but also was incredibly powerful. According to the Dragonball Super manga, it took 10 years for Babidi and Dabura to collect all the ki necessary to revive Majin Buu, so they must be collecting it right about now. Shin and Kibito are extremely worried about this and want to stop Trunks from doing it, but Trunks tells them to trust him as he powers up, creates a ball of ki at the palm of his hand, and begins to point it at the egg. That's when Dabura, Babidi, Pui Pui, Yakon, Spopovich, and Yamu show up. Babidi was worried sick that something could have happened to Majin Buu, telling all his allies to attack at once as he pumps the ki into Buu's egg. However, Trunks is not one to mess around and makes quick work of every single one of them, leaving only Dabura standing. Trunks unsheathed his sword before powering up into his ultimate state. He rushed towards Dabura, slashing him with ease. Babidi's other henchman then appeared and rushed at him. Trunks flew upwards and fired a powerful double buster to the ground, taking out all of them at once. Afterwards, he landed and focused his attention on Babidi. With one ki blast, he took care of the evil magician. All that remained was Buu himself. Trunks blasted the area he was buried in, revealing the cocoon. The Supreme Kai and Kibito both jumped down to investigate with him. Shin praised Trunks, commenting on how he's never seen such a powerful display of strength. But maybe they should just leave the ball alone. Without Babidi, Buu can't be born. Trunks thought this was over, but eventually decided that it's safer to just rid the universe of Buu instead, as there's no telling what could happen in the future. Maybe Buu could just naturally wake up, or perhaps another magician could appear. Shin didn't like this at all, but Trunks assured him that he had the power to handle Buu. Trunks began to concentrate his ki, explaining how he would attempt to blow up Buu in one go. But if he escapes, then don't worry, he can easily defeat him. He didn't have any ki after all. The Kais nodded and stepped back, but also concentrated their keys with Trunks, wanted to help him out in the end. All three blasted at the ball with their power. A few seconds passed, then suddenly, the ball opened and pink gas began to leak from the inside. We're going to have to fight. Stand back, Kaioshin. I'll handle this on my own. And just like he predicted, Buu reformed and landed before Trunks. I'll defeat you as many times as it takes, Buu. With no warning, Trunks blasted a burning attack at Buu, followed by a shining sword slash. Buu was hit by both and regenerated seconds later. Trunks realized that he had to put everything into one attack, just like Gohanks had to defeat Buu beforehand. Trunks focused his ki and tapped into his ultimate form before concentrating his energy into his blade. Then, in a split second, he appeared before Buu and sliced him with his sword, cutting him into hundreds of small parts. He threw his blade up, and as it fell back down towards the earth, he began charging a Gallic gun. As soon as his blade slid perfectly back into his sheath, he launched the powerful attack at the pink pieces of Buu. The smoke cleared, and Buu was no longer with them. The Supreme Kai was shocked. He couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. past. Trunks powered back down and smiled at the Kais. He was about to make his leave when he remembered the old Kai. "Oh yeah, I think it would be of your best interest if you let me help with the sea sword. Surely I'm worthy enough since I single-handedly defeated Buu, right?" Shin didn't really know how to respond to this, but if he knew about the sea sword, then perhaps his past self trusted him as well. And so, the three of them traveled to the land of the Kais. And in no time flat, Trunks removed the sea sword and demonstrated how proficient he was with it. He then asked to try this string, and just like the original tale, the sword broke. Shin nearly had a heart attack as the old Kai was released. Trunks welcomed him back and thanked them all for their help, but it was time for him to return. Shin told him that he couldn't allow time travel to happen, but Trunks smirked, turning back to the Kais and saying, "Yeah? Well, who's gonna stop me?" And with that, Trunks says goodbye to the Kais and his mother before returning yet again to the past. But this is not the end of our adventure, dear viewer, as a certain god of destruction looms over the horizon. Also, in the previous part, we had the Potara fusion between Gohan and Trunks. However, because of lack of time, we didn't have a proper design for him. But after the video came out, people in my community took it upon themselves to design him. So here is what the fusion between future Trunks and Gohan looked like in the past episode. Thanks for that, you guys. Anyways, let's continue with the story. He has returned to Earth after the battles against Majin Buu, and 3 years have gone by as Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, future Trunks, Goten, and present Trunks continue to train, with the kids even learning Super Saiyan 2 and Gohan revisiting the land of the Kais to get his potential unlocked by the old Kai, just like future Trunks had before him. The events of Battle of Gods largely happen the same, only this time future Trunks is around. So, Gohan and him team up to fight against Beerus. Beerus is actually impressed to battle against two Saiyans with their potential unlocked. He can feel that pesky old Kai had used his abilities to make them stronger. Even so, they don't stand a chance against the God of Destruction. Future Trunks is also the only other person Vegeta trusts with revealing who exactly Beerus is, and how dangerous he is. So, just like his father before him, Future Trunks is just as neurotic, and does the bingo dance along with him to keep Beerus distracted. He even tries to talk Gohan down from doing his little shooting thing, to no avail. Future Trunks also reacts when Bulma gets slapped by Beerus, but stops dead in his tracks when he feels his father's ki spike up. The only time he ever felt this before was as he was passing away during the Cell games. He didn't know what it was at the time, but he realized afterwards when Yamcha told him just what had occurred after he died during the Cell games, Vegeta exploding in rage and going after the bio-android. He also caught Vegeta when he fell down after being beaten down by Beerus. Either way, the God ritual continues as usual, only this time, instead of Videl, it's future Trunks. So the reveal that Gohan and Videl are about to have a daughter doesn't happen quite yet. Goku turns into the first Super Saiyan God in a millennia, and fights against Lord Beerus, eventually losing after stopping Beerus's giant ball attack, sparking into Super Saiyan God for a split second after thinking of his friends, including future Trunks and Chi-Chi. Ultimately, Beerus spares planet Earth and returns to his domain with the idea of training under him in the minds of the Saiyans. And thus, in the next couple of months, Goku and Vegeta would visit Beerus' planet and train under Whis, becoming his pupils. Gohan and Trunks did make a couple of visits as well, but due to the nature of Gohan's job, these visits are very short and infrequent. Instead, they continue to train Trunks and Goten when they can, and all four hybrids make a lot of progress. This Gohan is a little bit more adamant about fighting, because he has some sort of rivalry with future Trunks. One day, while Gohan and Trunks were training at Capsule Corp, they receive a strange visit. Trunks ran to his mother, alerting her of a strange UFO that had casually landed in the garden, and there was definitely an alien of some kind inside. While future Trunks walks Bulma back, Gohan was already threatening the alien, having no idea who he was. The alien declared himself to be the paragon of justice, and Gohan had responded by saying that that's not possible when the Great Saiyaman is around. This really annoyed Jacko, who pointed the gun at him. Bulma finally stopped the altercation, and finally said,
"Oh, don't mind him. I bet that's Jacko just looking for my sister."
Trunks had far too many questions. His mom had a sister? But most importantly, who was this Jacko guy? Before Trunks could ask any more questions, this Jacko guy rushed into Capsule Corp. He was sweating bullets. Frieza's here! Bulma spit out her drink, and Trunks just looked at him in confusion. What could it mean Frieza's here? Frieza's been dead for years. Jakku explained that, somehow, Frieza returned. His guess was by using the Dragon Balls on Earth without anyone finding out. Bulma couldn't believe this. How could they have gathered them all without anyone noticing? Trunks was appalled that they could allow this to happen, but didn't seem too alarmed. Gohan didn't seem two-faced either. This was Frieza they were talking about, the same Frieza who was no match for the first Super Saiyan. Even if he had brought a horde of forces like Jakku told them, it's not like they can defeat 4 Super Saiyans as well as the rest of the Z fighters. Jakku was shocked at how complacent they were all being. Meanwhile, Gohan and Trunks began contacting the rest of the Z fighters as they would no doubt need their assistance with dealing with the army. Eventually, everyone assembled at the location Jakku predicted Frieza would land. Luckily, it was a little bit away from the civilization. Gohan, Trunks, Goten, and Kid Trunks, Piccolo, Krillin, Jakku Tien, Yamcha, and Master Roshi all turned up to help aid in the battle. Frieza finally arrived in the spaceship, alongside several smaller spacecrafts. The Z-Fighters prepare themselves for a tiresome and lengthy battle. They begin by taking care of all the grunts. Gohan, Trunks, and the children didn't need to bother going Super Saiyan to handle any of them, and the other Z-Fighters were faring well. The battle seemed to be never-ending, and eventually the Saiyans had enough of it. Goten and Trunks fused and powered up into Super Saiyan 3, while Gohan and Trunks tapped into their ultimate power to take out as many enemies as possible. Now that everyone was using their full strengths, the Frieza Force were quickly disposed of. In the meantime, Bulma tried to contact Goku and Vegeta, who were currently residing on Lord Beerus' planet. Frieza was getting irritated at his minions' pitiful performance, so he ordered them all to stop. Frieza then floated forward in his hover car. Of course, he recognized both Trunks and Gohan as well as Krillin and Piccolo. 2 soldiers stepped before Frieza, and he introduced them as his strongest warriors, Shizame and Tagoma. Trunks and Gohan stepped forward and burst their aura open once more. Tagoma and Shizame both rushed towards our heroes, and unsurprisingly, both avoided their strikes with ease. They gave each other a small look of approval before blasting the targets with a full-power Masenko, knocking them both out. Now Frieza didn't have a lot of faith in his underlings as he knew they were relatively weak overall, but he didn't expect his 2 best soldiers to be taken down in one blast. He was mad, and with no warning, transformed into his 4th and final form, rushing towards Gohan, kneeing him in the gut, and then immediately spinning around and hitting Trunks in the chest with his tail. Both were winded and immediately surprised at how strong Frieza was. How was it possible for him to get so strong when he had been dead in hell for years? It made no sense. Trunks was especially confused, as he had defeated Frieza when he was in that very form beforehand. The duo powered up, then flew forwards towards Frieza, hitting him in a combo move which they had been practicing for a while now. It combined parts of their father's Meteor Crash and Flash Strike, but with their own flair of course. The combo finished with both blasting Frieza with a Gallic Gun and Kamehameha respectively. Frieza was sent flying towards the ground and a huge crater was formed from the intense assault. Just when they thought the fight was over, they noticed an ominous energy emerging from the newly created basin. Frieza was producing an extremely powerful aura, one which very easily exceeded Gohan and Trunks' current power. But it wasn't like they would just give up. The Cold Emperor then began his attack, sending out hundreds of death beams at the Z-Fighters. Everyone did their best to avoid the slew of bullets, but many were hit and injured, Trunks included. He gripped his sword and swore that he would take him down. Then blasted at him with a burning attack, only this time Frieza didn't jump and took the blast head on. The smoke cleared and Frieza stood there with an evil grin. The blast had done no damage whatsoever, but Trunks was still trying the sword attack he had done the first time around, jumping over to slash through Frieza. But Frieza didn't even look backwards this time. He simply used his tail to grab him by the neck and throw him against the ground. He would never fall for that trick ever again. Gohan gritted his teeth and tried to think of a plan. Frieza wasn't going to give him the opportunity to think, and rushed towards him, beginning a sinister combo. Gohan couldn't defend himself at all. Gotenks tried to help by blasting Frieza with a barrage of Dai missiles, but they did nothing. Frieza held Gohan by the shirt, then pulled his arm back.
I was so close to killing you when you were just a boy. I'm so glad I've been given the opportunity to follow through with my threats. And after you will be the rest of your friends and family.
Frieza struck Gohan's chest with his hand. But at the exact same time, there was a bright blue blast coming from above. Frieza was in the line of fire and took a direct hit, dropping Gohan in the process. Thankfully, someone caught him. This someone being a very angry Goku, who was sporting a brand new blue hair color. Similarly, Vegeta also had this hair color and went on over to Trunks, helping him up and taking him to the rest of the fighters. As it turns out, Bulma had been trying to contact them repeatedly since Jacko first alerted them of the attack, but she received no answers. However, when Frieza powered up and transformed to his golden state, and Gohan and Trunks had to try their best, powering up to their max, that was when Goku and Vegeta felt that incredible power, using instant transmission to get to Earth. Beerus and Whis instead traveled by Whis' warp ability, so they were due to arrive in a couple of minutes. Since Goku got the first attack in, Vegeta argued that it was his turn to battle next, and so the two of them battled for a while. They seemed equally matched, but it soon became obvious that Frieza was starting to slow down and run out of stamina. Vegeta wasn't in a holding back mood, however. Seeing what Frieza had done to both his sons had put him in a dangerous mood. With a full power Final Flash, Frieza's eyes widened as the giant Final Flash consumed his body. He felt every single one of his cells disappear slowly as his consciousness was once again transported into other worlds. But he could still see Vegeta, the boy he had seen grow up into this powerful man. But the blue glow reminded him of something else entirely. Not only the Super Saiyan he fought on Namek, the one that caused him fear, but also in Vegeta's eyes, he could see the Saiyan that killed him all those years ago, the sword reflecting his metallic body that had just been gifted to him. He couldn't believe this had happened again. Vegeta defeated the Cold Emperor in a satisfying finale. Not only had he avenged his sons, but Vegeta felt like a weight had been lifted. After all, Frieza was the source of all the fear he had during his childhood years. So yes, in this story, Vegeta does get the victory we all wanted. Finally, the battle was over. Goku used instant transmission to head over to Korin's tower to collect some senzu beans for anyone who may need them. Gohan specifically had been mortally wounded, but finally, peace returned to Earth, with Trunks running over to his father and giving him a hug. Vegeta didn't hug back until little Trunks also ran in and hugged him. He finally hugged his two sons, thanking them for doing their best against the Cold Emperor. He smiled at them both, finally directing his attention to future Trunks and telling him,
"Looks like our family's winning."
Beerus congratulated them all as well, but they weren't out of the ballpark just yet. Simply out of the frying pan and into the fire, as Champa, Beerus' brother, would soon arrive at his planet, challenging him to a brand new tournament. Only this time, Universe 7 had cards up their sleeves. Not only the Super Saiyan gods, not only the currently training Gohan, but the Sword of Hope by their side. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Like always, a huge thank you to the Patreons of the channel. I'm working on getting you guys special roles for my Discord server, which you can join down below. Samuel Randall, the Legendary Warrior, Celestia, Keith Grimes, Salil Paranjape, Jerome Foster, Jim G, D-Man Plays, Trentrals, Jonas Paulus, Kaiser Jirachi, Ghost 1571, Squad 100, True Lightning Striker, Angel MR, Shane K, Mystic Angel, Ethan Fraze, Jackie Effing Chan, Free Flow Highway, Craze PlayStation CK, Blaze 9526, Heart Fanfiction, KV, Marlon Gonzalez, D-Man Plays for Life, Zanos, Mark Plays, Giovanni Jimenez, Chris Banks, Grim Shadow 227, and Akko. Thank you so much, guys, for joining the Patreon. It means the absolute world to me, and it means I can get more videos like this out to y'all. Anyways, be sure to follow me on Twitter at SmugStickDB, and until we meet again, see ya.